If you're in debt, that's why you found me. So there are numerous ways to pay down debt faster. Some of them cost you a little more, but some of them, I'm about ready to explain, not going to cost you anything extra, but you're going to pay stuff off faster. There's other things too that all you have to do is make some calls and it can change how much you have to pay. It takes you half an hour, maybe an hour and a half on the phone, but it can save you hundreds or even thousands in the long run. So if you stick around, I'll explain all these. So the first one is, if you have a loan, it doesn't matter what kind of loan it is, okay? Take that back. If it's student loan, it might not work that way. We'll get to that in a little bit. But basically every other loan, most loans are designed to be monthly payments, okay? Some are like quarterly per year, but for the most part, it's monthly payments, okay? They structure it that way to where the most interest can be charged prior to you paying whatever your monthly amount is, okay? So if you start setting up your payments, whether you automate them or you manually do it, so let's say every month on the 15th, you have $400 due for whatever your loan is. I'm not saying don't pay that $400. However, the next time you pay that $400 on the 15th, on the last day of the month, pay $200. And then on the 15th, pay the remaining $200. Keep doing that every month, and that's called bi-weekly payments. If you do this for a full year, give or take a couple dollars or whatever, essentially you will end up making 13 months worth of payments by only paying your original 12 months worth of payments. So you're still only paying $400 a month, but because you're paying the bi-weekly payment, you pay off part of your principal before the interest happens. And because you do that every month for 12 months bi-weekly, it essentially, the extra amount that you pay off on your principal is equivalent to making a 13th payment. So you're able to pay off your loan faster with paying the same amount. You're essentially paying less interest in the long run. So if you had a 10 or 15 or even 30-year loan, if you're essentially knocking a month off your loan every year, you can do the math. So in 12 years on a 15-year loan, you're essentially knocked off an entire year worth of your loan. And as you've been doing that, you've been paying off your principal that much more, so you're essentially accruing less interest each month after you start that process, okay? So the next tip is, let's say you go to college. Once again, I'm not talking about whether you should go to college or not. That's your own, whether you go to tech school, four-year college, master's, doctorate, don't care, doesn't matter. When you get out of school, whether it's technical school, community college, whatever college you go to, unless you're locked into a state or like a federal grant, loan, whatever kind of thing with school where you can't move it, don't leave it with your original company. Most colleges have a single company that they use. So you didn't get to shop around whenever you essentially signed up for school. However, you're done with school. Now you're paying for school. Now you're the customer and you have control. Once again, unless it's tied back to like a federal or government student loan. I don't know how that part works. But just like a Joe Smo company student loan, go to a company like Nelnet. They have no financial bearings or tie back to or anything of that nature. Kind of wish I did, but I essentially used them with my student loan after I got out of my technical school. I don't even remember what the name of the technical school loan company was, but essentially, let's say they were going to charge me 12% interest. I researched and looked, and I found Nelnet which I think is like nelnet.com or something like that. There's a whole bunch of them. Google it or use ChatGPT to find it or whatever. But essentially, you find a company that is not a brick and mortar company. Not saying that they don't have an office somewhere, but essentially they're not a big conglomerate bank. Okay, all they do is process student loans, so they don't need to be loaning out money. They're essentially buying your student loan and you're paying it off. Okay, so you sign up or call or contact Nelnet or whatever company you're going to deal with, and basically sign up and explain to them where your loan is and all of that, and they buy your loan from the other bank or company or whatever it's with. Once again, not government student loans. I don't know how that part works, but they buy it. And let's say you had a 15 or 30 year loan, and whoever company you was with was charging 5 to 12% or even 15%, whatever it is. Well, Nelnet was charging like 3% or 4% or something like that. So in the course of my student loan, once again, I snowballed my student loan like I was just explaining. I did bi-weekly payments, so I paid it off even quicker. So I paid even less interest. Okay? But essentially, I saved hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars over the course of my loan. And I was able to pay it off for like 3 or 4 years quicker because I was doing the bi-weekly payments. So these are just a couple ways that you can save money without really spending any more money. Another thing is, if you're driving around and all that, and you're to the point where you're driving, you want to know some tips of getting better gas mileage? Really easy. Clean out your car. Seasonal stuff, anything winter related, salt, shovel, those kind of things, snowshoes, get them out of your car. Likewise, if it's something like summer and spring and it's fall and winter, get it out of your car. If you got a whole back seat full of clutter, junk, whatever, get it out of your vehicle. Even if you're like you work outside and you lay bricks and that kind of stuff. If there are things that you don't use unless there's a specific job, don't carry it with you every day. Every pound that you carry ruins your miles per gallon. Okay? Second thing, check your PSI in your tires. You're not for sure what your PSI is supposed to be at, go by an oil change place, get your oil changed. They'll do your PSI, they'll air up your tires just how it's supposed to be, and ask them, hey, what's my PSI? It's really on your tire, but if you're not for sure, you don't want to get down on your hands and knees and look. Whenever you open your driver's side door, there's a little tag or aluminum piece of metal that's riveted onto the frame of your car that tells you what your main exact PSI, pounds per square inch, what that stands for your tires need to be to get the best miles per gallon on your vehicle while you're driving. Okay? Third thing, I kind of already mentioned it, get your oil changed. Whenever you get your oil changed, get your air filter checked, all that kind of stuff. All of that helps your miles per gallon. So you get more miles per every gallon of gas you're buying. Okay? I hope all of these tips help and appreciate the views. Go ahead and click on my next video. That's the best way you can say thanks. Appreciate you.